Kunja Bihari
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Gopi Janavalabha Girivardhari
Jaya Gopi
Gopi Janavalabha Girivardhari
Jaya Gopi Janavalabha Girivardhari
Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Yashodanandana Brajajana Jamuna Devana Restored for Satat Sisaman Divine Grace is confirmed to me. Sure Abhajana in Bhakti Vedanta Swami Papa Maharaj Ki Jaya Jaya Vishnu Paramahansa Paribrahma Kachari Restored for Satat Sisaman Divine Grace Sila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Goswami Papa Maharaj Ki Jaya Ananta Koti Vaishnava Ki Jaya Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Jaya Prem Si Kahao Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Si Advaita Dharar Si Pasada Si Gaura Bhakta Ki Jaya Si Radha Krishna Gopal Gopinath Syama Kunda Radha Kund Giridhudam Ki Jaya Sri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jaya Si Mayapurnavat Dham Ki Jaya Si Jaganpur Dham Ki Jaya Ganga Maya Yamuna Maya Ki Jaya Samita Tulsi Devi Bhakti Devi Ki Jaya Samaveda Bhakti Devi Ki Jaya Nitai Gaur Prabhu. All glories to the sum of the devotees. All glories to the sum of the devotees. All glories to the sum of the devotees. All glories to Sri Gauranga Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 So this Sunday fifth program, our discussion will be taken from the Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 12, text 20. Title of this chapter is Devotional Service. Everybody is inclined to perform some service. But the service that we render to Lord Krishna or Sri Radha Samasundar, Sri Radha Govinda, Srila Prabhupada, our present church, present spiritual masters, for the pleasure of Lord Krishna and his consort Srimati Radharani, that's devotional service. The services that we may do for welfare of society, upholding the tradition of the work culture of the country, or work culture of the community. That's a different thing. They are all classified as works or service. So this very text, this is the last text for this very chapter, which basically summarizes the whole of the chapter 12. Chapter 12 basically deals with how the devotees of the Lord perform the services to the Lordship, the essence of that, the impact of that on their lives, and how relevant that is to Krishna's pleasure. So text 20 reads thus: Ye tu dhammamritamidam yato tam parupasati sradhanamat parama bhaktaste tivame priyaha. This is the digital age. You have your Gita on your phone. You can check it there. Because it's not written anywhere, so you could just abreast yourself with the context from your digital Gita. You see, who says technology is bad? Now we can carry the Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Bhagavad Gita, and all of Prabhupada's teachings in a small, cubicle digital wallet. So that we should be very grateful to the scientists, to the technologists. The same equipment or the same technology could be used in a different way. Or even the same approach, the same model could be used in a different way. But we use the technology for serving Krishna, and that's what the BBT has done. They've developed this database, and you can just have electronic version of the Vedic literature right in your pocket. So word for word translation, please respond, repeat after me. Yea, those who, to, but, dharma, of religion, amritam, nectar, idam, this, yata, as, uktam, said, paryupasate, completely engaged. Shradadanaha, with faith. Matparamaha, taking me, the Supreme Lord, as everything. Bhaktaha, devotees. Te, they. Attiwa, very, very. Me, to me. Priyaha, dear. Those who follow this imperishable path of devotional service and who completely engage themselves with faith, making me the supreme goal, are very, very dear to me. Please kindly respond, repeat. Those who follow this imperishable path of devotional service, and who completely engage themselves with faith, making me the supreme goal, are very, very dear to me. Purport. In this chapter, from verse 2 through the end, from my awesha manu imam, fixing the mind on me, true ye to dhammamritamidam, this religion of eternal engagement. The Supreme Lord has explained the processes of transcendental service for approaching Him. Such processes are very dear to the Lord, and He accepts a person engaged in them. The question of who is better, one who is engaged in the path of impersonal Brahman, or one who is engaged in the personal service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, was raised by Arjuna. And the Lord replied to him so explicitly that there is no doubt that devotional service to the Personality of Godhead is the best of all processes of spiritual realization. In other words, in this chapter, it is decided that through good association, one develops attachment for pure devotional service and thereby accepts a bona fide spiritual master, and from him begins to hear and chant and observe the regulative principles of devotional service with faith, attachment, and devotion, and thus becomes engaged in transcendental service of the Lord. This path is recommended in this chapter. Therefore, there is no doubt that devotional service is the only absolute path for self-realization, for the attainment of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The impersonal conception of the Supreme Absolute Truth is described in this chapter. It's recommended, as described in this chapter, it's recommended only up to the time one surrenders himself for self-realization. In other words, as long as one does not have the chance to associate with a pure devotee, the impersonal conception may be beneficial. It's a probability. In the impersonal conception of the absolute truth, one walks without fruitive result, meditates and cultivates knowledge to understand spirit and matter. Fortunately, if one develops directly a desire to engage in Krishna consciousness in pure devotional service, he does not need to undergo step-by-step improvements in spiritual realization. Devotional service are described in the middle 6 chapters of Bhagavad Gita. Is more congenial. One need not bother about materials to keep body and soul together, because by the grace of the Lord, everything is carried out automatically. Thus ends the Bhakti Vedanta purpose to the 12th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita in the matter of devotional service. Om Dhyanam Smaranasya Gilajanam Smakaya Saksura Manita Yena Tismai Sri Guru Suchetam Vistam Stapitam Yunabutari Swayam Rupam Kadamyam Budati Swadantika Vande Sri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Sahovaritam Gudrapai Pustavanto Chita Chandratamam Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasari Sri Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram Ram Hare Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nityananda Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pachari Nirvisesa Swanyavadi Pachati Panchakalpatari Byacha Kripa Sandubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanabhya Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha. So it's interesting that the path we have treading on, the devotional path, is the one that Prabhupada recommends, is the one that the acharyas, Vaishnava acharyas have recommended. So one will wonder what could be the difference. Now we take it, the impersonal part, to be like, that's nothing. But it's not as simple as you think. When you get attached to the impersonal part, it is very difficult to surrender to Krishna. I know of cases, like in Delhi, I had a friend, she's a 90 lady, she's married now, she has a first baby, I think last year or so. And I've been to their home, she tried to preach to the dad. She's an initiated devotee. She tried to preach to the dad. I said, dad is an elderly person. I tried to preach to the dad, and then the dad, somebody or other, picked up some interest with the association, through the association of other devotees. Why? Because in general, we find that if someone has imbibed an impersonal disposition, it is very difficult to preach to them. It is so challenging. And so this lady, she tried to preach to the mom, but the mom was so absorbed in the impersonal culture, she wouldn't budge. The father had, had some connection with some devotees. And then the devotees, through association, and loving disposition, prasadam, and everything else, he got purified and then accepted the path of bhakti. But her mom, so she told me, Maharaj, what can we do to help this lady? She said she had preached so hard, tried so hard. And the bad news is that she doesn't want to hear your preaching. She has imbibed a completely impersonal attitude to everything. Impersonal philosophy is so ingrained. So she appreciates whatever the child is doing, but for you to change her, no way. And sometimes, the acharyas, even Lord Chaitanya mentions that we should be weary of the impersonalism. Because they are also very pious people, like Prabhupada mentioned in purport. They engage in a lot of austerities. So they are so much of high pious merit that has accrued. They have some type of spiritual potency too. And they are highly philosophical. In fact, the impersonalists, they are more austere than we do. They are more studious than we do. But we have an advantage. We are treading on the path of the personal service to the Lord. And so that gives us a leverage. And so Arjuna was concerned about this whole stuff, this whole situation. Arjuna had inquired in this 12th chapter, in this Gita, that which part is more acceptable to the Lord. Which part is better? So Lord Krishna had explained to Arjuna that, worshiping him as he is, as he's appearing before Arjuna in 200 form. That's the best type of worship. So I said, we take it very simple, but when people are ingrained in impersonal culture, it's so difficult to change it. So we are lucky. What you have, it doesn't seem like anything to you, Just like you have a very supportive spouse. Also, you have a car you like so much. But when you buy the car, it becomes like nothing, because you have it already. Because you have it already. But God forbid, Krishna forbid, if something happens to that car, say it's stolen at a gunpoint, you become so worrisome. It is then you realize what you're missing, the value of that very utility. So, because we have whatever that may be difficult to have, when we achieve it, it becomes nothing to us. That's the nature of human condition. The things we try to achieve, we don't have, they are valuable to us. Once we have achieved it, it's not. So, on the part of a personal worship of the Lord, we are treading on it, so we don't seem to understand how valuable this is. And so when we come to devotional service, in fact, in this very text, Vishnu Chakravarti, explains that the characteristics of, in his own commentary, he explains that the characteristics of the devotee that makes him or her very, very dear to Krishna. See, Krishna has given different delineations, and in all of the previous descriptions, he says, this person is like this, is very dear to me. It's only this very text that he said, very, very dear. But the dearness is in the superlative degree. And so we should understand the value of a devotee. If someone is so valuable, then, we should revere that person. We should honor that person. We should seek help from that person. We should be careful not to step on their toe. Sometimes the devotees of the Lord are neglected. And we'll find the case of Ravana's brother. What's his name? Vibhishan. He was relegated to the background because he's a devotee. He's not a demon like Ravana. So he was relegated to the background. But when he left Lanka, that was the beginning of the devastation of Lanka. So when we have something valuable, when we have some valuable devotees around us, we have to even pamper them. Someone used this word with me on a WhatsApp message. I said, what do you mean by pamper? And according to the explanation of this person, it said pamper means speaking with you sweetly. So we should speak with the devotees sweetly. Oh yeah. We should be sweet in our communication with devotees, because these are very rare people. You see, we're taking like a fun, but I'm being frank. I'm serious. We may have a very supportive spouse, and we become very neglectful and even abusive. And one day she decides, finish, c'est fini, I'm gone. And then we start running helter-skelter, trying to, arrange for begging process and all this thing. Oh, but I'm important in your life. Why were you treating me like that? Some people, they don't want to hear your begging. They tolerate you for a very long time. And when they decide, symphony. So, the point is that a devotee is so dear to Krishna. Why? Because of their selfless service. You see, it is very difficult to replace a devotee. And you know what? Even in the management sciences, we understand that onboarding is so expensive. More expensive sometimes than the salary. Say a CEO leaves. When you have to employ another CEO, the onboarding process alone could be more expensive than the salary or 1 month salary of that CEO. So what's wrong in maintaining the devotees that we have? What is the difficulty? So sometimes we get too offensive. Sometimes we become like hero opinions. You know what hero opinion means? So my point is that devotees are very valuable to the Lord. Why? Because they render selfless service. People hardly do volunteer service. And some of you here are doing volunteer service to Krishna for 30 years, 20 years, 15 years. Can you imagine you tell somebody in America that, have volunteered with this organization for the past 20 years or for the past 10 years and no salary? Yeah, we should think about it in that way. How a devotee materially have sacrificed so much. That's why the devotees of the Lord are dear to Krishna. So, if someone is dear to your father, how do you treat that person? If someone is very dear to your mom, how do you treat that person? If someone is very dear to your uncle, how do you treat that person? You want to give an impression. You want to make an indelible impression with that person that, look, we love you, we need you, be around. That means it behooves us to be able to have that type of empathic communication. Empathic communication means we put ourselves, our feet in the shoes of that person. Even if the person is your family member, if they are devotees, we have to be very careful in the way we communicate with them. Because it's so easy to offend someone. Another devotee, Vidura, he was such an addict of Krishna. People are addicted to drugs, and they cause them trouble. But when you're addicted to Krishna, you rise in fame and glory all over the three worlds. Vidura is another person who was neglected by the family, headed by Duryodhana's dad and Duryodhana himself. But then again, we see what happens with that type of relegation to the background. And there are so many cases of the consequences of relegation of devotees to the background. And if we do understand the value of the devotee and how they are very dear to Krishna, then that should give us some type of prep on how to be conserved when we are in the presence, to be loving when we're in the presence, to be service-oriented when we're in the presence, to be listening when we're in the presence. When they say something, we should listen. Because a faith-based volunteer, as Krishna mentions here, is so dear to him, and therefore we should avoid hurting the emotions of such people. We should think. We should treat others the very way we will treat our most beloved. I mentioned this to somebody, and then they said, "But Maharaj, that's very difficult." That is where the challenge of devotional culture comes. Anybody can chant 64 rounds. The culture of love, we're talking about loving devotional service. But the culture of love amongst the devotee is even so imperative. And therefore, we have to be able to develop some strategies on how to checkmate ourselves from committing apparatus or Vaishnava apparatus, because they lead to devastations. And sometimes projects are stagnated for decades because of Vaishnava apparatus. And it's important for us to also remind ourselves that because the devotee is so dear to Krishna, we should see them as transparent via medium, by which we'll be able to receive messages from Krishna. So, for instance, someone might be younger than us, but because they have some specific special talent in a particular area, we should listen to them. I mean, I remember I went to one center in the West, and then the president is a cancer doctor. He has a daughter who is very good with harmonium and singing. So we go to the temple that day. I stayed at this place. We go to the temple, and he said, "Oh Maharaj, you have to lead the bhajan. You have to lead the arti." I said, "Come on, what is this? Because you are seeing some Maharaj Swami with you today? Why don't you allow those who have skills in the area?" I said, "I'm not a Gandhava. I might be a scholar." So I said, "See, your daughter is very expert. I've listened to her. She's very expert. Get her to lead the bhajans." He said, "Oh, but because you're around." I said, "Yeah, I know you have made some proposition, and I'm telling you, to my own best interest, what it takes to empower people, especially young people. And incidentally, empowerment of young people has a lot of impact on organizational productivity and performance." So I may come and say, "Well, I'm a Swami, have to do everything." But what is that? Is that what Prabhupada said? Just because I'm a Swami, I know better than everybody else? That's not true. I don't think so. If you find anywhere in the scriptures that say that once you're a Swami, you are, you're overall. You become a gynecologist, you become a pathologist, No, that's not true. So, we have to value the talents of the devotees around us. I was mentioning in some other place how engagement of people according to their talents, it helps to promote their culture of a sense of belonging. Because see, Krishna has given each and every one some type of potentials for rendering service to him. So if we tap into those potentials of our devotees and engage them, Prabhupada would say, dovetail such potentials in the service of the Lord, we have amazing high performance and productivity. So this part of devotional service, Krishna characterizes here as imperishable. In other words, whatever little effort we make goes into our spiritual bank balance. And that's why the cause of devotion, there is no loss or diminution. Whatever efforts we make, it goes to, not only now, even to the next life. Material qualifications, you may have 3 PhDs, and when you die, that's the end of it. You can transfer any to even your most beloved child. By devotional culture, if you become perfected, if one soul becomes perfected, he saves tens of generations in the family. Just think about the power of devotional service and how we should really appreciate each other. Appreciate people who are endeavoring on the path of devotion. Appreciate those who have given their lives to the process. Because even Lord Krishna, he mentions in this very Gita that there is no one more dear to him than the person who is helping to disseminate the culture of the Gita. And therefore, Prabhupada would say preaching is the essence. But anybody could actually do some preaching. And preaching does not necessarily mean that you have to become just a big Vedantist before, preaching means sharing what you have heard or sharing what you have read with anyone who comes across you who seems to be interested. At the same time, we don't meet everybody and anyone, whether in the family or in the office or in the community, and try to proselytize them. That's what people are really afraid of. They're afraid of being proselytized. There are people out there who have a lot of pious merit and they're looking out for some alternative lifestyle. When I was coming to New Jersey, so I took Uber, and then as I boarded the Uber, I was coming from Long Island. I took Uber. And then as I boarded the Uber, I told the driver, look, I'm a priest, I want to say some prayers. So, no talking. And so, when we got to the place that he had to drop me off, I told him that of all the Uber drivers and Lyft drivers have ever boarded, you are the best. You are so serene and sober. He was shocked. Then he revealed that, I wanted to talk to you. But because you said you were praying. I said, well, you have my phone number, you can call me. He said, yes, the guy who asked him to come pick me up, he gave my phone number to him. I said, yeah, you feel free to call me up. But you know what he revealed to me? He said, I'm going to tell you one thing. For 18 years, I've never taken any intoxication. I said, in New York. I told you that you're a Syrian person. I said, you're sober. You're a sober guy. He said, how did you know? I said, just the radiation of your energies. You never told me this, but I told you that you're a very sober guy. So, just by being out, we encounter people who have some type of merit and they want to make some inquiries. We don't have to fight with people. We don't have to fight to be able to just convert them overnight. Because our attitude to people should be able to impress upon them and try to create some connection with us. Of course, this is so difficult because everybody is online. You don't see people out there. But when we do encounter people, we should think of how to become really dear to Krishna by being friendly. Because when we are friendly with people, it becomes easy for them to come close and make some inquiries. And when they come close and they understand our lifestyle, they got to understand who we are, they want to be like us. And so, the bottom line is that the devotee is very dear to Krishna. We should pamper the devotee. So that we could help to motivate and encourage the people around us to take seriously to devotional service, to take seriously to helping to spread the message of God. Because the very essence of our human existence is devotional culture. Now, a number of people are not aware of that, and so we have to devise ways on how to make that information, that secret, available. So we are all lucky, or you are all lucky souls, powerful souls, because you're very dear to Krishna. And this path that you are treading on is imperishable. Whatever service you do, it goes with you, lifetime after lifetime, until you get back to God. Even a child can perform devotional service. You see all these young kids, they play Midanga. That's very pleasing to Sister Gauranitai. Just very pleasing to Sister Radha Tamasundar. So anyone can perform devotional service. It's not like, in the previous yugas, when you have to perform horse sacrifices, 100 horse sacrifices, which could be so expensive. But these days, Patram Puspam Phalam Toyam. What Krishna only wants from those elements is our devotion. Yome Bhaktya Pranashati. So when we look at it from a multifaceted approach, we'll find that the culture of devotion is very simple, except we want to make it very complicated. Whatever we have, we can really use it as a means of rendering service to Krishna. We can use our intelligence, we can use our bodies, we can use our resources. And we have to always remember that the devotee is very dear to Krishna. If someone is dear to Krishna and we are serving Krishna, how do we treat that person? Any comments or questions? Yes.
How can one develop the art of forgiveness?
That's a very good question. First of all, we have to understand that if we don't forgive, we create some type of stagnation in our spiritual life. We may forgive. We can forgive somebody, and one way to do that is to let go. Let go of the past and move on. Because what has happened, you couldn't change it. But you can right now maneuver your life for a sustainable spiritual future. This sustainability here implies that we can start now to do things that will not interfere with anybody's devotional happiness. And a number of us in our movement. See, I've been hanging out in the movement for 32 years. And any country you go, it's almost the same thing because it's the same conditioned souls. We like to pinprick, we like to hurt, we like to backbite, we like to do this, we like to do that. But it is better that someone hurts us than we hurt somebody else. Because when we hurt somebody else, sometimes the ego alone is so difficult to accept in principle that, yeah, I need to, reconcile with this person. So one way to forgive somebody is that someone hurts you badly. Yeah, just decide, all right, the past is gone. This is how this person is. I forgive you. Ideally, if someone hurts you badly, they should, if they are clever, if they are smart, they should come to apologize to you. But you can move on with your own life by letting go. But then this person, this is a snake. That is his hole. Let me not put my hand inside that hole. But you say, okay, be there, you're also living entity, go on with your life, let me go on with my life. Let me go on with my life, you go on with your life. Sometimes we misunderstand. We think that tolerance means you bend your head like this, and someone should just cut your neck with a sword. No. So I give an example. I don't know when I given this example here before, but you see, I was at Laguna Beach some couple of years ago, and after a program, one gentleman, IT guy, he came to me. I was still sitting on the other, and he came to me and started telling me some stories about his daughter, 8 years old daughter at that time. It has to do with forgiveness. So he said one day he came back from work, and for no apparent reason, who is 8 years old here? Anybody? Any of these kids? No. Okay. He said he came back from work one day, and for no, this was him confessing to me. He said for no apparent reason, he started insulting his 8 years old daughter. And somebody other, the girl was very un-American. Un-American in the sense that she didn't call the police. Because that means putting the father to jail. Because you could just call the police and tell what is going on, and then immediately they will appear. The girl never did that. After some days had passed, father was happy, daughter was happy, but she was targeted. 8 years old. When she saw that the father was happy, they were dilly-dallying when they were eating, then she raised the issue. Papa, the other day when you came back from work, you did like this to me, you did like this, you did like this, you did that, for no good reason. Did you have a fight with somebody in the office that day? 8 years old. Immediately he said that. I said, hey, call the girl to come here. So he brought the girl, and then I had to beg the girl on his behalf, on Papa's behalf. So I said he should pay obeisances to the girl and hug her, beg her for forgiveness. What you did, even though you're a father, is completely wrong. And your confessing means you know what you did is wrong. So he did that. He paid obeisances, the girl paid obeisances, they hugged, and that was the end. My point is, if someone hurts you, whether it's in the family or in the community or outside, if you can't tolerate, if he hurts you too much, try to call the person like the girl did. When your mind has come down, don't approach it at that time, because two wrongs can always produce wrong. You are hot-tempered at that time, someone hurt you badly, it's irritating. And the person who has offended you at that time also, they are not sweet at heart. So you could wait when some days have passed and you have calmed down, the person has calmed down, and then work out some amicable, reconciliation. If you can't do that, You just forget it, forgive the situation, and then move on with your life. Because some people, they are just born into the environment to create distraction, to create disturbance, to hurt people, to ick people. So Krishna could use any devotee around as, as a devil, as a demon to try us or to ick us, to do anything. We should be conscious that there's so many people who are in the movement, but they are not of the movement. There might be big people in position. Oh yeah. And so forgiveness is just a challenging thing, but it has a lot of psychological, scientific implications. And when we forgive somebody, it doesn't mean that we become again close to them the way we are. We can forgive somebody without really getting close to them. So that you don't miscue. He did this to me, she did this to me so much. And it hurts like anything. How am I going to go and get close to this person? You don't need to. But you can forgive the person and move on with your life. If you've not been greeting the person, you can start greeting them. When you decide to forgive the person and you're forgiving the person, you pray to Krishna, you're forgiving this person. Sometimes people think that if someone hurts you so bad, then you have to go back to that person and tell you, I've forgiven you. It doesn't make any sense. They feel pride. They feel pride for that. It is something internal, and they don't even give a damn to it, because they become more even offensive when sometimes you do that. But internally, you could just, let go and move on. If you Google let go, you hear so many stories. Everybody on the planet has been hurt somehow or the other. Either at their workplace, in their faith-based organization, in their social club, in their family, whatever. We've all been hurt, but we have to move on with our lives. Doesn't make sense. It is a challenge to forgive, but forgiving someone is one of those requisite godly Krishna conscious characteristics. And if we understand the fundamental principle behind forgiveness, we will be very willing to forgive someone and move on with our lives. You may hurt me so much, and I forgive you. We are very close friends. I forgive you. Now we become casual friends. Before, we used to sit down together to eat and jolly and all this thing. But then, it became too much. Okay, I forgive you. Now we're casual friends. Hello, good morning. It is not imperative that, you have to dilly-dally with that person. But don't keep grudges. Either you speak with the person, like the little girl did, or you just forgive the person, let go, and then move on with your life. But you should know this person's character is like this, so that you don't become a victim of circumstance again. The question is, what if I'm living in the same house with the person? Yeah, do like the girl did. Call the person up and reconcile. Ask like the girl asked, you did this to me the other day. What happened? I felt hurt. What happened? But we should not worship grudges like a deity. because it hurts us. What's the time now? 7 more? So it's time to go. Huh? Any other comments or questions?
I do have one.
Yes. There's one here. I remember I went to DC, so we had some program at one of the Bhakti Vrikshas. Then I go to ISKCON centers. I don't really say go and prepare to give a class. I'm not going to an academic conference. I've been in the movement for 32 years. So we went to that program. So I asked them, what do you want us to discuss? They said, one lady, she's a doctor, she said, on forgiveness. Yeah. So, the whole class was on forgiveness. And we've seen people when they hurt other devotees, they have a lot of terrible reactions. And when we see the case of Dhruva Samuni, right? Dhruva Samuni even had access to Narayan. But Narayan even couldn't save him. He said, go back to Ambarish, reconcile with him. That is, if we hurt somebody, we should have the boldness, we should have the courage to seek for reconciliation, to seek for forgiveness. But if someone hurts us, for me it's better to quickly move on with my life. The ego may not allow me to come and say, I'm sorry, forgive me. But if you hurt me, I can easily, put it behind me and then, move on with my life. We can still be friends, although we may not be so intimate like before. Is that right? Or we could even be intimate again if it's properly wrapped out. Right? Yes, so what's the question?
Thank you, Maharaj. My question was, so the devotee who is doing selfless service is very dear to Krishna. So can a person doing no service be very dear to Krishna? Can a devotee?
You know the answer to this.
No.
That's not what Krishna said. Krishna said, those who have given everything, sacrificed everything in serving me, they're very, very dear to me. Everyone is dear to Krishna. You may, if a father or a mother may have, 3 kids or 4 kids, but one of them is service oriented. And I experienced this some time ago. I remember when I was still preaching in Africa, I had this terrible accident that resulted to all of this, the aftermath of my health challenges. So at that time, I had this terrible accident that resulted to bladder rupture and all, car crash. So, but then I was in the emergency ward. Emergency surgery ward after my surgeries, and there was a dying man, and I just went to my bed, and he had a good family. He had a bunch of money. There was one of his kids who will come there a grown-up man. He will come there every day. The other kids will come occasionally. That boy will come every day. And at the terminal point, I saw him telling the boy, you go to this drawer, there is this checkbook for this bank. You go to this place, there is this checkbook for this account. He showed him every damn thing. Like right there, he wrote his will almost wholly for that boy. Service. we may say, well, the father was partial. No. When you have a problem, you know who loves you. Krishna does not have a problem. And if someone does not even have a problem and you caring and serving them, that is even more amazing. So Krishna recognizes recognition. Krishna recognizes the person who is serving him from his mind or her mind wholeheartedly. And so they dear to him. Those other kids of that man, that dying man, yes, they're his kids. But he didn't give them his checkbooks. They are all his kids. So from evaluation, basically, this boy was very, very dear to him. He was service oriented. So other people might also be dear, but not very, very dear, not in a superlative degree. That's my point. Whether it's render service or not, you're dear to Krishna. Krishna child, you're dear to him. But Krishna mentions in this text 20, that this person is very, very dear. He characterizes with two superlative words. Very, very. Does it make some point? All right. So, in the absence of any other comments or questions, we'd like to adjourn this meeting. Thank you very much for participating in Krishna consciousness.